All right, there we go. I saved it to the cloud instead. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about the 2026 Watershed Survey. Thanks so much for joining. It is the product that we are doing in response to the grant that we won last year. So we're going to talk about what a watershed survey is, what does or how does it relate to the grant that we won, and what is needed from our group and when. But let's first answer, how did we even get to this point? And, last year, the Sabattus Pond Watershed Project, our group, and the Androscoggin Valley Soil, Water, and Conservation District jointly applied for a grant to conduct a watershed survey, and we won it. About $18,000 worth of help, essentially, to conduct a new watershed survey. And now we are doing the work. That is the plan that we are working on for this spring. But you may be wondering, like, what even is a watershed survey? And it's a great question. So a watershed survey is basically you can think of it as a medical checkup of a whole area where water drains to the same place, like a river, lake, or stream. For us, that is the Sabattus Pond. And that highlighted area that you see on the screen is the Sabattus Pond watershed. What is the purpose of a watershed survey? The primary purpose of the survey is to identify and document potential sources of polluted runoff getting into Sabattus Pond from soil erosion, which is the leading source of pollution getting into the lake. What do we get out of having one? So having an active watershed survey also allows us to apply for larger and bigger grants to do more of the work and help us get our watershed eventually healthier again. It moves us in that direction. We used to have an active watershed plan, but they expire every 10 years because things change. Land gets developed, terrain changes, populations change of people, animals, plants, that all impact the health of the watershed. So you may be asking, Nick, is that what we're doing now? Reactivating our watershed plan. And yes, exactly, with a caveat. Like I said, all things change across time. So a requirement of reactivating our previous plan and building off of it is reassessing at our point where we are now. Reassessing the watershed where we are now. And by the means of the grant that we won, with the help now of Maine DEP and the Androscoggin Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. And I just want to note that the purpose of this survey is not to be used for enforcement purposes or finger pointing or anything like that. Its aim is just to gather information that will inform our watershed restoration over the course of the next decade. And this is a completely voluntary survey, and we'll go over those details. Like, property owners can opt out of participating in it. We don't want that to be the case, but if they aren't comfortable with it, they can. Okay, so we covered how the heck we got there. We won the grants to improve the long-term health of our watershed by reactivating and building on our old watershed survey plan. We now have help from two other organizations, the Maine Department of Environmental Protections and the Androscoggin Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. And we talked about what a watershed survey is. What's the benefits of having an active one, which is to access more grants. And then we also have the most up-to-date knowledge of any health problems, essentially, in our watershed, which is great. It can lead us in the right direction for trying to improve them. But what are the details of this plan? I need to know, you need to know. Let's get to it. And those are some great rhetorical questions I'm asking myself. But Nick, what the heck do I need to know? And first things first, I want us all to know that we are not alone in this. Like I said, we have the help of Maine DEP and I'm just going to call them AVS, for Androscoggin Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. That's going to be a mouthful the whole time. So I'm just going to call them AVS for now. Sorry, Emma. Um, and they are here to help us along our path. And for this specific grant instance, oh, there's two people in the waiting room. I'm going to admit them. So they are here to help us along that path. But each of the groups involved has its own responsibilities and work it needs to complete. We are responsible for a lot of the back end administrative work. That work is covered mostly by myself and the board. But for those of you on here now and watching later through our YouTube, what we are primarily responsible for is showing up and volunteering for a total of two about 8-hour days outside doing the actual work and conducting the watershed survey directly. And if you commit to one of those days, you would have to take just a 2-hour virtual training course, and we'll get into that later. Okay, so the volunteer information. So what do you need to know and where most can you help? The biggest way you can help is by volunteering for our 2 in-person days. You and a partner volunteer would essentially be coupled with a technical expert. That technical expert is actually hired from some of the grant funding that we won. And essentially, you and the 2 others, the other volunteer and the technical expert, would go out into a sector or an area of the watershed, and you would go out and you would do the actual work. Those technical experts hired by the grant funding, the purpose is to simply help with their data collection. You don't have to be an expert yourself. That 2-hour virtual trading course is plenty of information that you would need. You would simply just be like helping take pictures or helping record information for them that would then end up in our watershed survey. The commitments needed and qualifications and responsibilities I have listed on the screen. The time commitment, like what approximately it volunteering requires. It would be like walking around about 30 shoreline properties within the watershed, and that is the designation of a sector. You would have to navigate with the technical experts, and like those details will come from them. And essentially, like your main responsibility would be, helping them achieve their data collection. It's not that much. You get to spend a full day outside. It is rain or shine for those 2 days. And we do have the 2 days picked. They are Friday, May 29th and Saturday, May 30th. And the plan is to have those be the 2 days for the watershed plan. There is a little bit of random administrative work that you can also help with. If there are some things that you can't do, say like, you know that you don't want to walk around or can't walk around outside for 8 hours in a day, there's other stuff that you can do to help too. You could bring coffee or donuts the morning of some of these ventures. You could help with some of this administrative work that I have listed. That would be things like sending out reminders to volunteers like a couple days before, like sending them a text or sending them an email, whatever way they want to be communicated with, or making a social media post as a reminder for something, or even helping me record some of the volunteers' times, the time that they spent working on stuff, because all of that time they spend counts as in-kind donations for our grant obligation. And one of the other responsibilities that we have to do is just like inform emergency services of the communities that we're going to be in, just to let them know that we will be in these areas for these amount of time or for this amount of time on this day. So that way, if they get a call and they're just like somebody who didn't receive any of our communications, didn't receive our mailer that we're going to send out, says there's three people on my property, what am I going to do? The police can respond and just say, those are the people doing this. Um, and like that is just an example of one of the administrative things that have to happen throughout this process. And it would be me assigning those tasks as is. And essentially, what I'm going to do this week is create a little online virtual form. I'm going to send it out, and you can sign up for either of these days, these in-person volunteer days, or both of these volunteer days, if you're really feeling like you can do both. I will actually be coming up both of those days as well, and doing participating for both days. So how many volunteers are needed? That number is based on the amount of sectors within our watershed, which is determined by the DEP. And as of right now, they determined that there's about 13 sectors. That's why they split it up into 2 days. And I see your hand, Justin and Leslie. I'm almost at the part for questions and recap. Just let me get through this real quick. And it is about 13 sectors. It's split into 2 days, so we're gonna be doing 7 sectors on one day, 6 sectors on the other, and the goal is to essentially like survey these 389 shoreline properties. So there's a need of a total of 26 volunteers, but that is if each volunteer only volunteers for one day. If you volunteer for 2 days, that of course cuts the numbers down. Because there are 2 volunteers needed per sector. And ideally, they live within the sector that they're going. This is just an example of kind of what these sectors are cut into over here. So they will have like a picture of our watershed. The DEP is providing this, and they will have it sliced up into sectors and up with about 30 properties within each sector. And the exact sector designations for our watershed are being determined by the DEP. When that comes out, which we are reviewing through the steering committee that I'm on with the DEP and AVS next week, next Tuesday, I'll have more information about those specific ones. And if you want to volunteer for the sector in which you live in, you can totally do that. There are, of course, like a max of like 2. So like, say Donna and Gary who live on the same, if somebody else from your road wanted to volunteer, we would need somebody to volunteer in a different area too, just to cover all the bases. It can be a close by one, but just to spread around the help that's needed. Now, you may be thinking that it sounds like a lot of volunteers, and it does. But like I said, it's spread over the course of 2 days. And if people volunteer for multiple days, that of course cuts it down. So, and you can sign up for either or both. Okay, so I threw a lot at you, but I wanted to take a minute and pause and recap for that. Now, if you could walk away with one thing today, I want it to be that, that we need your help volunteering for this work, specifically supporting volunteering for both or either of those 2 in-person days on May 29th and May 30th. Committing to either or both of those days would require you to take just a 2-hour virtual training class, which has not been scheduled yet, but would need to be, of course, before the end of May. So our next steering committee meeting next Tuesday, we'll talk about that and potentially plan one. If you cannot make that date chosen for the virtual training, you can actually just watch it after the fact too. That's okay as well. And you would be volunteering for what we had talked about, but just to summarize, spending about 8 hours walking around outside, rain or shine, assisting the technical experts with data collection, maybe taking a picture or just recording some basic property information, and also too talking with homeowners. It's a cool opportunity for our organization and for the members who volunteer, or for just anybody in the community who volunteers, to talk about a lot of the work that we've been building to in this moment. So it's a cool way for us to showcase all of the work that we're trying to do and maybe to get new people involved as well. What does your volunteer work actually do for your community? It acts as in-kind matching funds that we are required to give for winning that grant, and it contributes to the improvement of the overall watershed and helps us move closer in that direction of long-term sustainability. Now, stop and ask questions. I want to give that opportunity. Justin, Leslie, you had a question.
Yeah, Nick, I just had a question. You talked about like walking properties. Is any part of this taking the staff member from AVS with a volunteer and doing like any work from a boat for shoreland purposes that way, or is it strictly all just walking around properties?
It's strictly just walking around properties. Yeah. I mean, there may be some advantage in like specific instances where, you might be able to get to a part that's particularly marshy, but mostly it's just going to be walking around. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
One thing, Nick, you say you're talking about shoreland properties. What about the back lots on some of the roads? Like our road has 45 or 50 properties, but they're not all shorefront.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I believe that the DEP is going by the designation of what a shoreline property is like kind of within 200 is it 200 yards or 200 feet from the shoreline? Are they within that or are they outside that scope? I mean, it's a great question to ask, and
If it's 200 feet, then all the back lots would qualify because our lots are 100 feet. The shoreline lots are 100 feet.
Okay. Yeah. So I know when they did this previously, they did do some of those back lots that you're talking about, just from reviewing the previous one that expired in 2017. But I can ask that specific question on Tuesday when I meet with them again. They are still like kind of working with the tax maps to create those sector designations, and they should have more of that information by the time we meet next week. So I can update you. That's a great question. Yeah.
On our road, the back lots are actually part of the watershed.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, wait, they're not part of the watershed?
No, they are.
Oh, yeah, no. I imagine everybody within this, that little designation right here is, yeah. Well, that's a good point, and I know that they specifically defined the shoreline properties, so that 389. So, but I can get clarification on that. Ooh. All right. Any other questions? I know I kind of threw a lot at you.
Yeah, Nick, I got a couple.
Yeah.
Will the homeowners be alerted ahead of time that we're going to be coming?
Yep, absolutely. So part of this process is actually sending out notification to all of the property owners that we would be then surveying with information about what's going on, the dates of it, and providing an opt-out option. And essentially what it would look like is like, if you don't want us to come on your property, please contact us at this number or this email, and then let us know. And then we'll make sure to strike that property off the list of properties to survey at the end of May.
Does the homeowner have to be there?
No, because it's all exterior. Yeah.
Are we going to have any kind of handouts available?
Yep. Yes. So there is quite a few messaging things involved, or like handouts. I have examples from that. I have examples from previous ones, and I can show those. So they look like this. This was Sabattus Cook's handout. This is what All right. Sorry about that. Can you guys see? I cut out real quick. All right. So this is an example of one of the handouts that they previously had. This is Sebasticook Lakes watershed survey that they did back in 2023. This is like something that would be like a flyer or posted up at a local store or a town office. But the mailer would look, like a little postcard, front and back, with just some information and how to, like what's going to happen. Our volunteers will knock on doors and respect your privacy, and an opt-out option and stuff like that. So it just looks like that.
Does the DEP send that out?
So we would be, they compile the list of addresses. We then review the addresses to make sure, like I say, like if I know that property owner is like, or that property is like no longer in use or it's torn down, just any up-to-date like community-based information, it's reviewed, and then we would then mail out, we would print out these postcards and then mail them out, essentially, which can be done just by going to a printer, designing the postcard, having it printed, or having all of the ones needed to be printed, and then just putting little stickies on for the addresses and just mailing them out. So, but we do have funding specifically reserved in the grant for this portion. So we don't directly have to pay for this. This is actually paid for by the grant.
So there would be like 389 postcards that would be delivered to property owners around the lake?
Yes, give or take, presuming that, some of them might be rented, so you'd have to send it to the current occupant or owner. So say like if the mailing address is like something different, I imagine you might have to send two, just so people know. But yes, about 390 something.
And those are 389 occupied residences?
Those are all of the properties on the pond, directly on
They
the
may
pond.
or may not be occupied.
That may or not be occupied, but that tax information will have their mailing address. So even if they don't say, like, for instance, like Ken, stay there year round, Ken, I imagine your mailing address is your permanent residence, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So it'll still get to them.
So Nick, 389.
Yes.
Awesome. When will you have? Do you have a breakdown of Sabattus, Wales, and Green?
Not yet.
Okay.
That is
Because
the list that
obviously for a lot of this, the ones in Sabattus that have sewer are going to have such a far less impact on the lake than the ones in Green and Wales.
Probably in a sense, at least for some things, but I'm not entirely sure. Like they will be surveyed just the same, I guess, in that way. Like they are mainly looking for like erosion impacts and like, along the shoreline and things like that.
One question maybe we can put on the questionnaire, if possible, is are you public sewer or septic?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the survey is not like a survey like people answering questions type of thing. It's more like, think of it like a land survey. But it's certainly something that can be asked. I mean, we kind of know that most people in Sabattus are on the sewer, correct? And then most are in Wales, or all in Wales and Green are on septic.
Yeah, see, I don't know for sure that Sabattus was required to be hooked up. I think it was, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a good question to ask.
Our property's on city sewer, which I'm grateful for. But I don't know for sure 100% that was a requirement back when they put it in.
So the types of things that people will be doing is like, holding out these like little, almost like evidence cards. It's just to signify in their system like that picture is going to be associated with like that property that they designated for that. Like, and just identifying and looking for things like this that your technical expert will do, and recording this type of information, which seems like a lot, but it's just like circling one or a couple in each column, and then just writing down the information up here, like the site, the date, the surveyor initials, like, the tax map lot, things like that, which will be gone over in the training that you participate in. But it ends up by looking something like this. And this is actually like a digital forum now too. So you can do it right on your phone. You don't have to bring anything out if you don't want to, or for paper.
So if terrain like that was observed and it's contributing to runoff, isn't it very likely that the runoff starts uphill, maybe very far away from this actual point where it's entering the lake? Or
Sure.
is
Yeah.
that something that we explore later in the grant?
So this grant, and I'm going to show another slide just to be helpful. But yes, that is correct. If you're on the Wales side, like Sabattus Mountain and the erosion in the water that come off of that certainly do contribute to maybe things that look like this closer down to the shore. All of that stuff impacts. What this watershed survey is going to do is it's going to notate these specific things because circumstances have changed and developed over time. So this may be something that, like our previous watershed plan, this is just an example, that something like this may be something new or within the last like 5 or something years, something that just helps us identify where to target for when we apply for grants and try to work in projects that help remediate some of this stuff. Like it pinpoints where all this stuff is, and it says it assesses it on like a cost to fix scale, a technical scale, and it ranks it all. So like when we are, a year from now applying for grants because we have this new watershed plan, we have access to bigger and larger grants, and we can actually work in some of the implementation of like trying to fix some of this stuff. This watershed survey will point us in the right direction to be like, this is the topmost thing. This is the most cost-effective thing. This is where we should use whatever money we have to try to start with first, to try to make the most impact with the most amount of resources that we have. Does that make sense?
Will we be able to assure the homeowner that it won't come out of their pocket if any improvements are needed?
I mean, like, no, yeah, none of it would.
Okay.
Yeah, none of it would. It would literally just be, not unless they wanted to donate to our group, who then applies for the grants to get the funding to do this stuff, yeah, this is not for enforcement of any kind. This is simply just for identifying areas where when we have the money in the future, we can spend that money cost effectively to make the most impact.
Nick, does any of it include all of the roads that all of these properties are on, or is this just tax map lot information?
So if we see, from how it was explained to me, if we see an erosion example like this crossing a road, or a culvert that is, say, like broken and impacting like a property that is on the shoreline, and we see results of erosion coming from that, that's all documented. And honestly, it would be included within the sector. If we're within the sector, I believe it's something that we can take like documentation of. See how it has private road, driveway, private road, residential, all of those land use options, boat access. Like that's what's going to be included in this within each sector.
So it's basically, Nick, going to be like the one that was done years ago that I read, where it's going to look at everything. And then it's going to go basically by percentage wise, right? Where so much is erosion, so much of it's farmland, so much of it's golf courses, so much of it's septic systems, so much of it's roads draining into the lake. So it's gonna categorize it in a group, and then what is the biggest influencer down to what's the smallest.
In a way, this is building off of that already existing plan. Some of those things are static in a sense, and don't change as much over time as erosion typically can. So this watershed survey is solely focused on reassessing the erosion factor within the watershed on shoreline properties. Yeah.
Which was in that survey years and years ago was the main contributor to the runoff, and erosion was the larger contributor to the problem.
Yes, yeah. It was one of the biggest factors for new phosphorus getting into the pond. Yes.
Yeah. So the reason I was saying all that they're not going to go looking for faulty septic systems. That's not the goal here. The goal is to look at contributors to the phosphorus going into the lake. And part of that is because a lot of people are going to get nervous. Oh no, they're going to come after me and check my septic system. And that's not the whole point of this, I guess, is I want to make with what I think I'm hearing. It's just,
correct. That is not any point of this. Yeah.
It could be.
This is from the perspective of erosion.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Sorry I joined late.
Oh, no, you were good. So this is the overall plan from when we started in January. We had the first steering committee meeting actually in February. The second one is actually next month. And, we are now in the process of trying to recruit our members and our community members as volunteers to help on those two watershed surveying days at the end of May, as shown here on May 29th and May 30th.
It's a Friday and a Saturday.
Correct. And I will be up for both of those days, participating in both days of survey. And like I said before, if there's one thing I would have you guys walk away from today is that we need your help. Those on the call right now and those potentially watching later on YouTube. Anyone you know can help and join with this. We need a total of 26 volunteers. And that's spread between both of those days. And that's not including if you do both days. So, we need a lot of help. And it helps for our in-kind donations. And it helps for us doing this watershed survey to improve the long-term health of our pond. All right, any questions? I know we talked about a lot, but.
Nick, what were the hours again for each day? This is Anthony.
So the hours are about from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I know that's 6 hours, but they said plan for 8. So that might require like a little bit of a meeting beforehand. And if it's raining, you might slow you down a little bit. But it's just 2 days. That's it. 2 days and done for the majority of the work that we are asking for your help on. Yeah. Cool.
That's a lot of help.
I mean, sure, it is.
Come on, Donna. We've had as many people on a road cleanup day.
What's that?
Yeah. I mean, it's no different.
Yeah, but
It's no.
Okay.
Walk around and do survey people's properties and roads and stuff.
And you can always try to get others to help too. I'm going to be trying to contact a lot of the people that I know in town. And I mean, I think it'll be a really great process, just being out and walking around the pond. Hopefully the weather is nice that day. But like all of the stuff that we've been talking about, all of the work that we've been doing, us meeting, hundreds of hours of us meeting and talking about this problem, like this is the culmination of that stuff, the starting point of that. Like this is the work that needs to be done.
Hey, Nick,
Yeah.
I put my wife and I down for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
There we go. We got what are you, did you know what specific day you'd like?
Well,
Or
but we're coming in on May 17th. We're flying back to Maine. And so the 29th and 30th. So either day, you tell me, but we both like to do it together. So you tell me what day.
yeah.
And to be quite frankly, if I haven't got things going, I'd do it both days. Me too. And so will Jeannie.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll put you down.
And what's the pay?
Technically, it's $30 an hour, but that's the in-kind part. I did apply for a grant also too. I haven't heard back, but I did apply for a grant for those volunteers to actually get paid $30 an hour for their time. I haven't heard back yet, but every little incentive can help. So great. So we only need so we have 3 people down for 2 days. That's great. That's great. And talk to people about this as it's coming up. Over the next week or two, I'm going to be posting a lot of like little information postcards and like some little one-pagers and stuff like that to really like have very or easily shareable information. And I'm going to have the link for the digital form that you could literally just text somebody if they're interested in signing up, and then they can just sign it up, and then that information goes directly to me. So
down it's May 29th and 30th.
Yes, May 29th and May 30th. Coffee's on me.
I'm gonna ask my neighbor.
Oh, absolutely. Justin, Leslie.
Yeah, Nick, is there a age limit on volunteers, or like I'm just thinking if I want to get my kids out there to volunteer, I didn't know how that worked with the grant and with Androscoggin or AVS, I guess we're calling it. So
that's a good question.
Like they had to be 18 and over, or like
maybe to count as like a one volunteer slot. But I mean, you're more than welcome to bring your kids along with you on your sector and stuff like that to have them experience it. I think that would be a great opportunity. Yeah, maybe like someone brought up the question of high school in our previous meeting, and I think they were going to look into that specifically. But
well, that's what I was thinking. Our son, like he could come up and help us out, type of deal. So
yeah, I will get clarification on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing too with that, Nick, is a lot of these schools are requiring public service, so hopefully that'll qualify for that for the kids.
I would write as many letters as I needed to a school principal to say that a student did the work.
A lot of the schools up here now are requiring 5 or 10 hours a year.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great thing. I was planning on connecting with the school as well, and the fire department too. They've helped us with the testing in the past, and maybe they'd be willing to help spend some time outside too. So, okay.
Hey Nick, Baby and I are both in for both days also.
Okay, awesome. There we go. Cool. And I'm just going to go through real quick just to show you that, it's not just us that are required to do things. The DEP is also required to do things. This is a lot of their responsibilities over the course of this project. They are doing a lot more of the technical work for prep, like building out those sector maps, identifying, you know, sharing for free some of their technical experts to help with that cost, and you know, conducting the volunteer training as well. Yeah, see, DEP is actually providing 5 to 7 free tech leaders for that. That was excluded from the grant. So, and the Androscoggin Valley Soil and Water Conservation District was the partner that we chose to apply to this grant with. They are helping out immensely as well. They're serving on the steering committee. They are providing 2 technical leaders for both of the days, and you know, they are doing a lot of the report writing at the end of the day or after this work is done. And then, like I said, mainly for all of you guys and for everyone watching after, I just want you to know that the volunteer work for those days is the primary thing. Oh, excellent. Mark and Kim, I will put you down. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, if you're volunteering for both days, that's huge. So I mean, we already have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, or 9 people, 7 people so far. So that's excellent. Thank you. I'll put you down.
Wow.
Great. And these are a couple of the other things that we have to do. This publicizing, we just have to make contact with the town communities too. And the DEP suggested posting something in the paper too. That does cost money. And, you know, if we have money left over from the grants for like the materials and the printing and stuff, we can use that as to try to publish it in the newspaper. I honestly have never looked into publishing something in the newspaper as an ad, but I don't know how expensive it is, so I don't want to promise it. And you know, if it's like something crazy like $500, $1,000, but something to think about. And like I said, if there's other ways that you want to support besides like walking around outside, there's other things that you can do. If you really have a love for all things admin, you know, like I really do, you can work on some spreadsheets on some of the reporting of the volunteers' hours that we have to do. You can make phone calls a couple days before the surveying just to remind people to come out on those 2 days. There will be a meeting spot that we all meet up on that morning, both mornings. And then essentially we would have like a little meeting, maybe have some coffee, have some donuts available, and then just go to our separate groups and separate sectors. And then we would do all that work separately. And then you would just go home for the day after when it was done. Or if you parked at that meeting spot when your sector was done, you would just come back to that meeting spot and head out.
I like how you say, then we go home for the day, like you would release us, so you'd allow us to go.
I mean, they estimated that it should only be about like 6 to 8 hours, like just a day. I can't imagine it would be more than that. It's 30 properties, and I like most of the properties on Sabattus are pretty condensed, or on Sabattus Pond are pretty condensed. They don't really survey non-developed properties because, you know, they're the natural environment in a sense. What they're looking at is like type of remediation work that can have an impact on property owners that may not be able to have or may not be able to cover the costs if they, you know, actually need to do some work. And this plan would identify those for us to do later on. Yeah. Any other questions? I know there was a lot.
Well, the local newspaper, is that the Sun Journal?
Yeah, it's the Sun Journal.
And that seems almost like an outdated requirement, because is the Sun Journal really how people get their news anymore?
That's
Yeah.
why.
I agree.
That's why it's not a requirement, Donna.
A lot of the,
Yeah.
You know, it was a
newspapers
thought, but yeah, no, I would think Facebook or something electronic would be better. But
Yeah, the main requirements for notification is literally the property owners, which we'll be covering with the postcards that we'll send out, and contacting the towns and emergency services. They specifically said that the newspaper was an optional thing. So I think in full recognition of what you had just said. that it's not the primary source of info for most people nowadays. Maybe their Facebook page is, but
Now you're gonna
probably not.
put our web page, right, Nick?
Oh yeah.
Like-
Yes.
The reason I'm saying is I can use that to contact some people that aren't on here right now who are friends of mine on Facebook or phone list or something like that. So I'm sure they're not listening and they won't know because they're out of state.
Yeah.
So I can get in touch with them. Maybe I can get a couple more people or whatever.
Yeah. There's no in-state requirement. You know, I'm coming up from Philly. If you want me to pick some people up along the way, I can.
Yeah. And then residents of the towns, they can be people. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. They don't have to have any prior affiliation with us or, you know, Androscoggin Valley or anything. Yeah. If they're willing to help, we will readily accept it. So,
good. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. So, sorry, I was just checking the meeting stuff or the chat. That's just came to work. All right. So, over the next few weeks, you will see a lot of messaging information from me. I'm going to share some like easy shareable things that you can text to a friend, send a picture of, or even send out that link for that virtual sign up. I will also be meeting again for the second steering committee meeting with the DEP and the Soil and Water Conservation District on Tuesday next week, where we will be discussing the topics in this center column right here. So review sectors and, you know, provide feedback, review their landowner list that they provided, which is all of the property owner addresses that we plan to reach out to. I will follow up on that information, the questions that you all asked today, Justin about the age requirement, and Gary and Ken about the property, what is specifically defined, and then discuss the mailers and then the survey day logistics. Like we'll probably pick a meeting location and time. Anybody have any good ideas for meeting locations and times that's kind of like central or maybe has quite a bit of parking available?
The only one I know is Martin's Point. There's plenty of parking. I don't know if they can let you park in the IGA in Gorham. I mean, I'm sure Gorham in town. Green. I'm not sure, but I know we can park there at the Martin's Point.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of parking there if it's a busy day.
Yeah,
True.
But the parking lot down there by Dunkin' Donuts and Subway, there's quite a bit of space there.
Our Lady of the Rosary too. I know that church closed down, but that's pretty nearby. And just the parking lot is all that's needed. That could be a location as well. Yeah, because it would be like a Friday, Saturday in the summer. Maybe there's a lot of boat trailers and stuff.
That parking lot fills up pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. That's a good thing though. I will like put down like, you know, how do you expect to be getting there? Are you willing to carpool on the registration form? So
what's that big church on the corner of I'm not sure, is it Sabattus and right across
yeah,
Across from
that's Our Lady, I think.
Yeah. There's a big parking on the right-hand side as you go up. Plus, there's a place for people for carpooling down below.
Yeah, that's the park and ride for 95 in Sabattus. Yeah. Yeah, no, all great places. Cool. If anything comes to you or you have some volunteers, like you can even be like, I have a friend who wants to volunteer. You know, can I give them your number? Absolutely. And you can even give me theirs and I'll reach out and take care of all of that logistics as well. So like I will take what I can get. So awesome.
One last question for me, Nick. Has the water level come up at all?
Sorry?
Has the water level come up at all on the lake?
Maybe. So Wayne, we closed the dam on March 8th, I believe it was. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, March 8th. It came up 10 inches in a week. So as of whatever it was, Sunday, it come up 10 inches. And after the rain we had on Monday, Tuesday went down and measured and it came up another 10 inches.
Wow.
So we're basically, how do I put this? So we were about 60 inches low. We're up 20. So we're in really good shape.
Good.
We're in awesome shape.
Good.
One other thing, I saw a couple messages somewhere about it, but hopefully we'll see. But hopefully part of this year's Alewife dump they're going to do in Lisbon just after the dams that they have to remove this summer. So we're going to work the fishway this year as if it was a normal year. So there's a chance, we're not sure yet, but hopefully they're going to dump, X percent that they normally just put in the lake into the Sabattus River just above Lisbon to see if they make it to the lake.
Okay.
It's kind of a test run for this year, and then next year will be, fully open.
Interesting.
Good.
Nick, I'll let you know. I'll check my calendar. I'm going to volunteer. I don't know if it'll be 1 or 2 days, but
Yeah.
how about the Lake Smart training? Anything new with that?
AB, yeah.
Yeah, no, we had talked about holding off on that until we got by this. And I think when we talked last time, we were thinking trying to get that in the summer.
Yeah.
Late summer, or early fall, but like focus on this, do this, and then do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because that does require that aspect of like training, getting trained, and then going out and doing similar stuff. But yeah, just getting past this point real quick.
Okay.
And the just FYI, the lake conference is coming up in Main Lakes Conference in June.
Yeah.
In June, it's on a Friday. So if people are interested, check it out.
I have a wedding to come up to in Maine for June.
It's a Friday. I'm trying to find the date.
And maybe we'll line up.
It's the 12th at the University of Orono. So it's a hike.
Yeah. Okay.
Just FYI.
It's all day that Friday too.
Yes.
Okay, cool. June 12th. All right. Cool. Thanks to everyone. It is 7:01. Like I said, more to come. Talk about the volunteer opportunities. I'm going to post just the volunteer dates and some information and some shareable links this coming week. More people, the better. I'd love to have the chance to turn some people away, but so let's get out there and let's do it. This is kind of what we've been building to. So thanks everyone. And I'll post this on YouTube later tonight. Thanks.
Next meeting?
Oh, next meeting. Yes. Let me look at the schedule. Okay. So it would be April. How about I have nothing on the 15th, and it's best to book now than later. How does April 15th sound?
Responded. I had already sent Teresa's.
Might be doing my taxes that day.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to avoid doing my taxes. Cool. I'll send out that info. Thanks, Lou. And all right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Have a great night. Bye.
You too.